This is a light switch. More specifically, this is a GE Smart Switch with Z-Wave, and that means it's better. Hey guys, and welcome to Tech and More Tech. Today I'm going to review the GE Smart Switch for you. I'll go over installation, functionality, and generally what I like and dislike about the switch, and at the end, I'll let you know if it's worth buying or not. If you prefer a more detailed written review, check the link in the description below or head on over to techandmoretech.com. If you're unfamiliar with smart switches, they're basically a way of adding connectivity to the light switch itself versus the light bulb, like a Philips Hue or something. You can read more pros and cons in either configuration down below. Let's take a look at the device itself and then we'll head on over to installation and more details. In the box you have the switch, both a white and almond colored rocker, a traveler wire, and the instruction manual. Now there are a variety of nameplate colors available online, however you don't get any extras in the box itself. But because the dimensions are all standard, you can just use the faceplate from the light switch you are replacing. The device itself is pretty nondescript, as you can imagine a light switch would be. There's a little blue LED at the bottom to let you know if it's on or off, which can be disabled. And there's also a little reset button at the bottom as well. Even though it is a rocker style look, it doesn't actually rock back and forth when you press it. It's more just like clicking a button that's inside the housing. Speaking of the housing, it is quite large, as are most smart switches and dimmers. And that's because there's a lot of extra electronics in there that allow it to be a connected or smart device. The back connections are very straightforward and easy to figure out. Instead of having pre-connected wires inside the housing that you then splice with the wires inside your wall, it just has little ports that you basically plug the existing wires into and screw them down securely. Personally, I think this is the preferred method because it means you don't have to splice wires together and it doesn't take up more space inside the already fairly tight housing box. Remember to always turn off the circuit breaker when you're doing any electrical work, and if you don't feel comfortable in your abilities to do this kind of work, call a professional to do it for you. Installation is pretty straightforward. Once you remove the old switch, you'll need to figure out what each wire is and then connect it into its respective location inside the new switch. Each connection point is labeled accordingly on the back of the housing. You got your live, load, neutral, ground, and traveler if needed. And each port has a screw so you can tighten the connection. As I mentioned, this does require a neutral wire, so if you have an older home that doesn't have a neutral wire running through your house, there are some other options for you. Check those down below. Once the wires are connected safely, you can go ahead and turn the circuit breaker back on. The LED on the front of the switch will turn on and you can just press the button to turn the lights on and they should work. Since this is a Z-Wave device, you will need some sort of Z-Wave compatible hub like a SmartThings or a Wink in order to be able to use the smart features of this device. Because why else would you even buy it? Connecting to the SmartThings hub was near instant. All you gotta do is search for a new device, it'll pop up immediately, and you'll just add it. From there, you can obviously then designate which room it goes in and give it a new name and stuff like that. But for all intents and purposes, it is set up and running. Aside from price, I would argue that performance and reliability are the two main criteria that people look at when it comes to a smart device, specifically a smart switch. By performance, I mean lag. You know, does it take a long time between you clicking it and the light turning on, or between you giving a command on your phone and the light turning on, stuff like that. Now, because it is a Z-Wave device and it connects to a Z-Wave hub, the performance to a certain extent is tied to how well that hub is able to communicate throughout your home. Now, if you have something like a SmartThings hub like I do, that is cloud-based, so there is a certain protocol that has to follow where it's not all 100% local. Nevertheless, it is still very quick, definitely to the point where it's not noticeable or it's not a hindrance and it doesn't take away from any sort of functionality. As far as performance, when you actually just click the device, there's no lag whatsoever. It's as if you just had a regular light switch there, which is exactly what you want. You never want to lose functionality when you're going towards a smart home. I will point out there is an audible click whenever you actually toggle it on or off. And I don't just mean like a plasticky click when you're actually pressing it, but also when you're using it remotely. It's as if something's switching inside the switch and it makes a very audible noise. It's not the worst thing in the world. I don't know if it's there on purpose or if it's an actual hardware thing that's making the noise, but it is something to point out. Reliability so far has been excellent. I've had absolutely no issues with it. I haven't had to restart it. I haven't had any connection errors or anything like that, and it's working perfectly in all the automations I have it set in as well. Like I mentioned before, this does come with a traveler wire, and that's used in 2- or 3-way situations. Now what that is if you have like a hallway that has lights throughout the hallway and a light switch at either end that both control that set of lights, this will be compatible with that setup. You will, however, have to replace each switch that controls that set of light in order for the smart functionality to work. Luckily, you only have to buy one regular switch and then add-on switches that are much cheaper for all the other connection points. If you want to use this smart switch in a 2-gang or 3-gang configuration, which is like when you have multiple switches right next to each other, it'll be a bit tight, but still pretty doable. Because there are no wires coming out of the box, you don't need to splice anything and it's not taking up any extra space, you will be able to do it. And because it has a standard looking design, it'll fit in with any other switches you have in that group that maybe aren't smart switches yet. Tie-ins with automation are flawless because they're all handled by the SmartThings app, allowing for such things like turning all the lights off when I leave the home and turning them all on when I come home. Sometimes less reliable devices will hang and then cause the whole automation to not work. Luckily, this has not been the case with this switch. All in all, I'm very satisfied with this switch so far. But all this brings us to the golden question. Should you buy it? It costs about $40 for the regular on-off switch and about $45 for the dimmer switch, which is about on par with other smart dimmers and smart light switches. It is a Z-Wave device, so you will need some sort of extra hub in order to get the connectivity out of it. However, if you are planning on having a larger smart home, then that's not really going to be that much of an issue because you're probably going to want a hub anyways. Because of this, it will be fully compatible with both Alexa and Google Assistant, so you can incorporate it into those ecosystems as well. For those of you looking for HomeKit compatibility, there are some other options for you that are linked down below. Alternatively, there's also HomeBridge, which allows a sort of makeshift HomeKit compatibility. Again, link in the description below. Now, I know it's a little bit more expensive than some of the other competitors out there from newer companies. However, because it's made by GE and it's probably going to be supported for a long time, and GE has a very large brand reputation behind it, I think that is a pro of its own. For the excellent performance and reliability that this GE Smart Switch offers, I think it's an excellent choice to start off your smart home with. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, hit that like and subscribe button for plenty more videos to come. Be sure to check out techtechandmoretech.com for more news and updates on all things smart home. And until next time, see ya.